Welcome back to the Tier 1 podcast. I am your host, Brent Tucker, owner of First Responder Cigar, Cask, and Coffee Company. Go to frcc.shop and use promo code Tier 1 to get 15% off the world's best coffee, cigars, and bourbon.
Hey guys, and I'm Drew Tucker, underworked and overappreciated at First Responder Coffee, Cigar, and Cask Company. I invite you guys to join our Patreon, brought to you by Cobalt Kinetics. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and you get behind-the-scenes exclusive content. There's a fitness forum, there's a gun forum, and there's a Cobalt Kinetics weapons expert ready to answer all your weapons question at the Patreon.
This episode is brought to you by Human Performance TRT. Go to hp-trt.com and use promo code Tier 1 to get 20% off all of your testosterone and peptide needs. Go get your blood work done and make 2026 the year you get in the best shape of your life. Let's go, Drew.
Special Forces Regiment.
Welcome to the Tier 1 podcast.
This is amazing, dude. Check this out, right?
And with us today, we have Duncan Bailie, served 25 years in the UK military, some of that with the 2nd Battalion Parachute Regiment, and the vast majority of his time with the 22 SAS. Welcome to the show, Dunk.
Thank you very much, mate. Good to be here.
Man, I tell you, I'm excited about this one. I have not been shy about the relationship between the SAS and the Delta Force and how much respect we have for each other. Of course, we have to. Like, we stole the whole idea from you guys
Back in the day, yeah.
back in 1976, 75. A guy by the name of Charlie Beckwith.
Charlie Beckwith, yeah.
Literally stole the idea from you guys and said, "Hey, we're going to do it just like they do it."
Yeah.
It's why we're called squadrons. It's why we're set up the way we're set up. It was literally a copy and paste. I think that started the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys looked down on us at that point a little bit and be like, you couldn't change one thing. You had to do.
Just pick one thing and change it. Make it your own. At least one thing.
Sure, you don't want to call yourselves the 22 Delta Force? Like, yeah, if you just take it off.
20 seconds Delta Force.
But I can't speak how good the relationship back then was, but obviously it's fair to say it was at least okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know in the decade I was there, it was more than okay.
Yeah. And
some of the best relationships for that I've had with people in a foreign service and all the different countries and people I worked with. The 2 SAS is without a doubt on top of that list. So it's a long story just to make sure everyone knows like why this really is important to me, and I'm excited to have you here. So welcome to the show.
Great to be here. I've been looking forward to this. I know we've been trying to set it up for a minute, but it's,
Right.
The stars are finally aligned, and here we are.
We're both retired. You'd think it'd be easy. I don't know if I'd say I'm busier than I've ever been, but
I suck at retiring. Like, if there was a special forces of retirement, I would have not have passed that selection. I'm out.
Correct. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, but we got on it. Let's get into it because I have a lot of questions. You know, it's funny even when you serve with another unit or even someone else or even a friend. I haven't really found out about their story or their unit as much as I have, obviously when they were guests in the show. Because when you're just hanging out, you just make fun of each other.
Right.
You don't ask insightful questions,
You
or
don't care.
you're not looking to hear about their past or anything else. You just
My wife always rips me because she's like, "Oh, so is he married or like do they have any kids?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
Did you even meet this person? Like, yeah, I did. What did you talk about? It's like, I had guns and things. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, he had funny ears, so I reminded him about that constantly. That's what we talked about.
We gave him a new nickname. That's what we did.
Right, and that was the nickname Satellite, and that's how it works. So right off the bat, how old were you when you joined the military?
19.
Okay,
So a little bit late in sort of traditional standards. You can join the British Army at 16 with parental sign-off.
Oh, can you really?
Yeah, and then you go into a junior basic training sort of thing, and you're held there for a couple of years, I think it is. And then when you turn 18, you can go into because you can't go operational until you're 18. The government won't allow it.
Okay.
But I was born in South Africa, so I didn't leave there till I was 19. But I left specifically to join the British Army because I sort of foresaw where South Africa was going to go, and I didn't love the way it looked. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get out, it needs to be now, at least, because then I can start to build a life or do something else. And so that's what I did. My grandfather had served in the parachute regiment, so I was quite dialed into them as an organization and what they represented. He was fiercely proud of his service and what he'd done and of the unit itself. So I wanted to be part of that. And so when I came across, you used to go into a recruiting office and and typically you'd meet the recruiters and they would try and get you in the unit that they were from. That's typically how it works, right?
Yeah.
But I was absolutely dead set on I knew where I wanted to go. And there's, at the time, there were 3 battalions in the parachute regiment, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalion. He was 2nd battalion, and I wanted to go to 2nd battalion. But, of course, in basic training, you land up meeting the guys that you meet, and you want to go where they go.
Right.
And fortunately, our whole intake went to 2 para. So
Really?
it was for him. It was. I think he was more proud that I went there than indeed I was.
What is the mission set of the 2nd Para Regiment, second battalion, Para Regiment?
So the 3 battalions at the time really have the same overarching mission, and that really is in wartime to drop behind enemy lines and be able to sustain for prolonged periods in the field and disrupt logistical communication lines. That's the premise of it. I mean, we saw it a lot in the Second World War with the glider and the parachute troops there, and that legacy pretty much carried on. And
it's an assumption, but just want to make sure we say it for the listeners who don't know. It would be a static line parachute form of airborne insertion. You guys jump often? How long were you there? About 3 years? Roughly?
Yeah, about 3 years.
How many jumps you get in 3 years?
Yeah, off the top of my head, probably only.
I'd probably pulling one out of the hat.
I don't know. Maybe 30 at a push.
Okay.
And they normally are sort of concentrated into jump weeks or a battalion or brigade level exercise. You'll get some jumps in. But
did you like jumping?
Yeah,
on static line.
Yeah. And that's where I started free falling when I was in 2 para because
really?
That was more my jam. I was like, well, I like being under canopy, but that seems like the end of the ride. So I started free fall there, and that became a thing that I did for a time. So I got far more free fall jumps than I ever did static line jumps. But it's
and this is the late 90s, correct?
So 97 I joined. Okay, and then did selection in 01.
Would you guys be more agnostic in the way you trained, or either overtly or they hinted at what you were training for? What I mean by that is we didn't think we were going to Vietnam again. I don't believe that's a safe bet. But we still had very much Vietnam-like tactics,
right?
Even throughout the 90s. Of course, in the 80s and 90s, there's certain parts of our military that if they weren't Vietnam focused, they're at least Cold War focused, and that was as advanced as our military got, which came to bite us in 2001. Not really being ready and really not having understanding of the current world we live in. Yeah. So I say all that to say, in the late 90s, do you feel like you were training for a particular threat or a possible threat?
No,
or just training.
No, we weren't training for the war. We were training for a war, wherever that might be.
Right.
And I mean, I never deployed operationally to a war zone, so to speak, in the Parachute Regiment. I went to Northern Ireland on a 6-month tour, but that's not a particularly kinetic tour. It can be, but it wasn't for us.
Right.
So I didn't really start training with a specific theatre focus until I got to 2-2. So so it was a general war fighting type thing, bags of smoke, machine guns, left flanking, right flanking, point of fire, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So pretty generic infantry tactics, but sort of prefaced with, and the reason why the Parachute Regiment in of itself has a bit of a reputation is that we have a selection process. We have a test week. And you build up to this test week. It's called P Company. And you can't go to jump school until you've passed P Company. And so I don't know how many tests there are now, probably 10 or 12, but it's over a week and it's pretty brutal. It's ruck marches, it's assault courses and steeplechases and things like that. And milling, which is 60 seconds of all-out fighting with your buddy. You put boxing gloves on, you beat the shit out of each other for 60 seconds, and then stop.
Yeah.
And then your buddies again. It's wild. Anyway. So that sort of sets us apart from generalist infantry.
I love that.
The idea being that when we parachute behind enemy lines, we are on our toes. So we have to be have a higher level of fitness so that we can insert for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers, whatever it is, and then still get and do our work when we get there.
I love that, and of course, you just said that 10-day process was not an easy one. So that's not really what I mean by this, but what I am saying is, it is impressive to some degree, regardless of how difficult a selection process is. Just have one. Just have one. Have something that separates you from the next step. And it's amazing how many lazy people are out there that don't even want to go to an easy. They don't want to do anything more than they have to do. So any selection process is better than none. And it's crazy. And of course, the more you refine that, just the better and better it gets.
And this will be unpopular, I'm sure, amongst the UK military listeners. But right when I was leaving, sort of 2021-ish, around there, the UK stood up a Ranger regiment.
Okay.
And they essentially just amalgamated 3 units and made them Rangers and gave them the sort of special forces
identifier moniker,
right. But without a selection,
right?
And I think, and I could be I could be corrected, but I think they now have a selection process. But what annoyed me at the time was, having worked a lot with the Rangers, your Rangers in the past, you know what you're getting when you get Rangers, right?
Yeah,
and they will do exactly what they are designed to do,
right.
And they do it well.
That's right.
And I was a little bit like, you can't really just call these guys Rangers when they're not. They haven't earned that title.
Right.
When you look at who we typically partner with in any global conflict, I think it was a little bit. I felt a little bit insulting in even being kind of part of that thing. Not that I was part of the Rangers, but still,
right?
It just didn't sit very well with me. And you've got them in terms of high end infantry. You've got the Royal Marines and the Parachute Regiment, and they always are at constant. It's constant competition with those two, and and it's healthy competition.
Good.
Yeah,
that's right.
But you get a bunch of Parachute Regiment and Royal Marines in the same room, and they all just take the piss out of each other and drink and call each other names and say, "Well, ours is further. We get hard," all the rest of it. But it's healthy competition, and I just don't know that band of merry men is quite in the same, can be held to the same esteem as the Marines and Pareg.
Yeah. And speaking of selections, it didn't take you long. You said you signed up when you were 19, correct? You were in the Parachute Regiment for about 3 years?
Give or take. Yeah, give or take.
So you're about 22 years old.
Yeah, I started selection when I was 23.
Okay.
I turned 24 in the jungle.
Still, at 23, which I love. But let's take a step back for a second. At the age of 23, you look in the mirror and you say, I'm ready for the SAS. Let's go.
This is what they need, right? This is what they need. Well, actually, the truth be told, I had a plan. And the plan was not that. It was never.
all right.
It was never selected. It was eventually going to be.
Right.
So we have junior command courses. It's called juniors, and that takes you from sort of lance corporal to corporal. And then there's a senior command course, which takes you from corporal to sergeant, and then you become the platoon sergeant, and that's like a decade's worth of work probably. Yeah. So I was going to do those two things, and then I was going to go to the brigade reconnaissance element called the Pathfinders, and they're all Halo trained, and they have a selection, and they are like the SF within the Airborne brigade, and they do some decent stuff, and from there, I was going to spend a couple of years in there, and then in about my early 30s, I was going to probably look to go to Hereford. But all that came to an abrupt end when we had a new company commander come in to B Company 2 Para, and he was a former A Squadron officer. So he'd been with the regiment for a few years, and he came across, and he just brought just a different level of professionalism. Not that we were unprofessional, we weren't.
Right.
We were pretty spun up as a company, and but he just brought this different edge. And so we did a jungle exercise in Belize, and one of the guest instructors we had was an SAS guy who just finished his time as an instructor on our jungle phase of selection, and he was a guest instructor. So he sort of ran our jungle exercise not dissimilarly to the way selection was. So I had the opportunity to sit down with him one evening and in the jungle and just talk about what it's like to be in the regiment and all the things. And I was only supposed to really sit with him for 10, 15 minutes. I was there for probably a couple of hours when all was said and done. And by the time I walked away from that conversation, every decision I thought I was going to make up to that point changed. And I realized at that point that that's exactly where I needed to be. And so I then spoke to our OC, his name was Rob, and I said to him, look, so I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I'm ready. I don't know that I know enough. I don't know that I have the skills. And he said, let them be the judge of that.
Exactly.
Just turn up.
Right.
Just turn up and don't give up.
Right.
And see where it gets you.
I love that. I love that you had a plan of this well choreographed big plan.
Yeah.
But as always, which you'll find out later, and you know very well now, is complex, long plans just don't necessarily work. They don't. And if I had to guess, who knows if you carried out that plan, if you would have put in your packet, if you would have gone. I met so many guys in special forces who never thought they were prepared enough. So they wanted to do this first and that first and that first and that first, and they forgot the most important part of that plan, which was turning in your packet and going.
Just show up and don't leave until they tell you to.
Right.
Leave.
But you also don't know what happens to you in life. At the time you're making these grand plans, you don't know when you're going to get married. You don't know when you're going to have kids. You don't know if you're going to have two healthy knees, even when you're 30.
No.
Like this, you don't know. And I love that. I love that his answer was, you don't think you're ready? Truth is, you're never fully ready.
No.
Go sooner than later. And that would be the advice I would give to anyone else as well.
100%. And stay the course would be the other thing I say. Right. And I'm sure we'll get onto this in a bit, but I saw so many talented soldiers assess themselves out of the game.
Absolutely.
Today I've had a shocker. There's no way I'm passing. I'll just leave today and save myself the pain. And actually, they were doing fine. Right. Everyone has a bad day. Just don't have the same bad day twice. Yeah,
exactly.
It's not.
And of course, now hindsight's 2020. If you'd have waited another 10 years to go do the job, all the things you'd have missed out on.
Oh, dude!
Like it's 2001, and you decide.
And 2011 would have been when I decided to go. If my timeline was accurate.
Very different time.
Missed all the things.
Right.
All my favorite bits I'd have missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So fortune does favor the bold.
Yeah.
And you made a bold decision and said, you know what, I'm 23 and I'm going to send it and let them tell me if I'm good enough or not. I love that. Did you have any idea what you were getting into when you went? Did you have anyone that could talk to you about selection or?
No, I mean, there was, and the funny thing is that, the parachute regiment is quite a good feeder for the regiment. Lots of guys go and get in, but equally some come back. But the guys who go and get in, you typically never see again.
Don't see them
They
again,
just become
right.
fucking ghosts. They're gone. It's not because they're ghosts. They're just busy.
Right.
They don't often
Exactly.
time. Oddly enough, the very first after I did selection, the very first operation I went on, my battalion was deployed on the same exercise operation. So I actually got to see them again in an operational environment. I was like, "What's up, fellas?" They're like, first thing they said, "You need a fucking haircut." I was like, "I don't have to anymore." Hey. It was great to see him. But you're right, and we sort of lose that connection. So to answer your question, no, I didn't really have many people to refer back to, and the internet wasn't really a thing like it is now.
Right.
So I couldn't do this endless research and plot routes and maps and all the rest of it. You go on now and you type anything about SAS selection and routes, and you're just inundated with PDF files. You can find out pretty much anything. So I knew what I'd read in books, and there's some artistic license in that.
Right.
And there were a few people I know who had attempted it. So I had some points of reference, but detail, no, not really.
So without really knowing what to prepare for, how'd you prepare?
So the first 4 weeks, as it was at that time of selection, is the hills phase, as you well know. So increasing distance, increasing weight, land navigation, predominantly day, some night stuff.
Okay.
Over the Welsh mountains in all weather. So that was pretty much what I had to prepare for. The big risk for most folks is they tend to overtrain.
Yep.
So they'll end up blowing a knee out or twisting an ankle, or they peak too soon.
Right.
And a guy I knew said to me, "Dude, go and have a good Christmas, eat too much, drink too much, but be fit enough to pass a cheeky 8-miler. That's the first assessment. That's a British Army standard test. 2 hours, 35 pounds, plus water, weapon.
Right.
Go." But sometimes it's flat, depending on what course you're doing. Sometimes it's not. Of course, selection wasn't flat. It's in the Welsh mountains, for God's sake.
Right.
Fucking like that. But 2 hours is a cutoff. So just because it's special forces, it doesn't mean the cutoff. I mean, yes, the instructors go a hell of a lot faster than 4 mile an hour.
Right.
And they finish well ahead of the cutoff time. So as long as you can kind of see them, you're in.
Yeah.
And that's what I planned to do. So I had a relaxing Christmas and did a few easy runs, and really aimed to peak at test week, which is the start of week 4. And that it kind of worked out the way I'd hoped it would. I didn't blow out at any point. I come close to a couple of the cutoffs, but it is what it. But if you're in, you're in.
Exactly.
So I enjoyed the hills. I was a little concerned that my navigation wasn't quite up to speed because I didn't get I wasn't a commander in the parachute regiment. I was a section 2 IC.
Okay.
So I didn't really have much time on the map, as it were. So I spent a lot of my off time just trying to spin up my map reading skills. But then, those Pathfinder guys I was talking about, we had a few of them on selection. And, dude, they turn up to a checkpoint, they go, where they've gone. And I was still trying to unfold my map and find my fucking compass. And, they just had it down because they'd done a similar type selection in the past.
Right.
The Pathfinder selection is not dissimilar in parts, particularly their hills phase to our hills phase.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a rinse and repeat for them. But yeah, certainly drinking from the fire hose to some degree.
Here at the Tier 1 Podcast, we're excited to have Tasty Gains as a sponsor, a company with values that aligns with ours. I take their products every day, 3 times a day. And if it wasn't a product that I didn't take personally and believe in, and a company with integrity, then they wouldn't be sponsors on this show. Creatine helps the body produce more ATP, which is an energy molecule that your entire body runs on. It helps improve your physical and mental performance in all aspects of life. Let's be honest, creatine powder sucks to take every day. With the creatine gummies, you can take them with you anywhere and they taste great. Every batch is third-party tested, so you know you're getting exactly what you pay for. Go to tastygains.com and enter the promo code TIER1, that's TIER, the number 1, and get 20% off your order. I love your mentality on it because it's just fun talking to you guys because if you take the funny accent aside, it's like talking to to one of us, and the mindset is always so similar, and your mindset of is exactly what I talk to people about hey, don't go in there redlining. Don't go in there at your peak. You go in there at 70%, 80%. But yeah, and then use that for that final push, or else that's where you get hurt. And it's like hearing you give me my advice, hearing you talk, and I love it that at the end of the day, like, we are cut from the same cloth. But it is impressive that you have that mindset. I went in at 28, 29. And after having experience in special operations as a Green Beret, I didn't have that mindset going into Special Forces selection, which I was about that age. I didn't have the experience, and I wasn't old enough or smart enough, but you were, and I love that. And that's don't go humble on me.
Might have been dumb luck, if I'm honest. Too stupid not to quit, maybe.
Yeah. And we talked about that a little bit too. Luck plays a preparation without a doubt. I'll take preparation over luck, but I need a little bit of luck.
Got a little bit of luck. Yeah, especially with some of the terrain you cover. It's, you just need a little bit to shine on you that day, so you don't end up breaking a femur like we were talking about earlier.
If it fits in, remind me about that story, because I do want to talk about that a little bit. Did you do that during the hill phase?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll at the very end of the hill phase, we'll talk about that. So talk about hill phase. Like, what you said, it's 4 weeks long, but what all does it entail?
Yeah, it used to be. I think it's 3 weeks now.
Okay,
because there's some more stuff at the back end that they've added on, and they can achieve the same standard within 3.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's not overly complicated. It's wake up in the morning, parade on time, get on the trucks, drive out to the training area. You get out, you get given a checkpoint, and you go to that first checkpoint. When you get there, you give the next one. So you don't know how long you're out for. You don't know how far you're going. You don't know what route you're taking until you get to the checkpoint, and then you plan it, walk it, next one, and go.
Right.
And it starts off. I mean, it's typically 1 march a day. Normally about anything from 20 to 30 kilometers, somewhere around there. But lots of elevation, and the rule of thumb is you've got to cover 4 kilometers an hour, regardless of whether it's up, down, or flat.
Right.
So it averages out over the time, and that's how they work the cutoff times. And obviously they account for poor weather or things like of that nature. But there is a cutoff, and you either make it or you don't. Not within the first 3 weeks. There is a bit at the end of week 1 called the fan dance, and it's about 26 Ks, and the cutoff is 4:10, I think.
Okay.
But it's up and over a mountain. Turn around, come back up and over the mountain. It's fucking miserable.
And you don't know that you have to come. You don't know until you get to the other side that you have to go back over the same mountain.
You do. So that's there's 2 really iconic marches on selection. The fan dance is one.
All right.
And endurance is the other one. They call it the long drag or the long walk or endurance.
Right.
And that's about 60 Ks, 60 pounds of weight plus food plus water, and then you go and you literally cover this whole training area from one side to the other, and you'll start off in the daylight and finish in the dark. So some of those features you're crossing at night, it can be pretty hairy.
Sounds eerily familiar.
Yeah.
I wonder where we got it from.
Yeah. It's must be this pool of knowledge. So there's not really much pressure on you as a student other than to just turn up and walk throughout the first 3 weeks. But so you start off in groups, and then it goes into pairs, and eventually you're on your own, navigating around the place. And then when you hit test week, you're on your own.
Okay.
And you either go or you get a red card. If you get a red card, you only get 1, and then if you fail another march on test week, you're out of there.
Okay.
And also, you can't fail endurance because that's either go no go.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the weather was like during your selection?
Yes, I do. I do. And we laugh. So so Brecon is in Wales, and Hereford sits on the border of Wales. It's about an hour and 20 minutes away. Beautiful mountains, which you never ever notice when you're on selection. I walked in the mountains a lot after selection, and you notice the beauty. You don't when you're on selection because you're in a world of fucking hurt. And but you can truly have 4 seasons in a single day in that place. You can get sunburnt, frostbitten, and hail damaged all at the same time, pretty much. So the weather started out like a typical. I did my selection in January, so it's winter.
Right.
So it was cold and rainy and just. Ugh. But on about day 3 of test week, there was some just torrential downpours, and at that point we had our sort of reserve unit. Their selection was running at the same time, and we sort of came together on that same day. We landed losing about 60 students that day.
Yeah.
Just through withdrawal and DNF.
Yeah.
Just
did not finish.
Couldn't finish. But then the very next day, we had a guy go down with heat exhaustion because the weather cleared and you had beautiful sunshine. Still a bit chilly, but just beaming sunshine. So it's a real weird place. And some people, you'll sit down and you do the calculations. Well, if I do selection in January, if I start in January, then I get a winter hills, which is okay. But then I do the SEER phase in the summer. It was called Combat and Survival when I did it, but it's called SEER now. But yeah, so, or you can game it. Well, if I do a summer one, then I get a winter SEER, so which is the lesser of two evils.
Right.
And if I'm honest, I didn't really care. I just wanted to get on selection and get it done. And for my money, I thought, well, I can navigate and walk when it's cold, and I'd probably rather do it when it's cold than when it's boiling hot because I can carry less water, I guess. And that was my rationale. That, and it was the next one that was available, so that's the one I did.
I've had people talk to me about our selections. Hey, what's the better one to go to? Spring or fall? And to be honest with you, the I don't say this because I in my older age I try to be nice, and but my inner voice isn't as nice, and I think to myself, if you're worried about going in spring or fall, and you think that's the difference between you making it or not, you're already like trying to game this. You're already don't go, don't go. Like I didn't care if it was spring or fall. I didn't care what phases I had in winter. Go be prepared. Other men are going to go, and other men are going to pass. So I've never liked that kind of gaming, of the weather mentality, as if I didn't make it, I was going to blame it on the weather.
Can't blame it on the sunshine. Can't blame it on the boogie. You know what I mean?
It just that would just kind of never really understood it.
Yeah, I mean, I get some people perform poorly in hot weather. I get that. But yeah, you're right. I think if you're of the mindset that that's the deciding factor, you're probably not going to be there at the end anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm from Florida. I hate being cold. I do. I hate being cold. Yeah. And the irony is almost every selection or hard thing I've ever done in the military just happened to be in a cold phase. Cold environment. So it didn't matter anyway.
Hate this.
Do you remember a point? I don't know. Maybe you got there or not, but I'm going to assume when you first got to the hill phase in selection that you're surrounded by men that you're kind of a little bit, I won't say in awe of, or maybe you felt a little out of place.
Do you mean the other students or the
other students?
Yeah, there were some senior dudes, moving around the lines, and I was like,
"That's right,
fuck,
right. What have I gotten into?"
Right. Yeah,
and then there's a point where those senior guys that you were looking up to weren't there anymore, and it's still you, and there's this some sort of point where you're like, I actually might do this.
Exactly that. Funny enough, there was that same day that we had that foul weather. There was a guy that I was in basic training with, and he and I were always vying for the top spot with fittest recruit and all the rest of it. And we wound up going to exactly the same platoon in the same company, doing all the same command course, our junior command course together, and we're always racing to the finish and such. And we did the same selection, and he came off that day, and I was like, shit. If he's come off, who's to say I'm not off tomorrow? Right. I mean, he had his reasons for coming off, and that's that. But yeah, you're right. There's imposter syndrome is a real thing for sure, and particularly on day one. You turn up and you look around. There was like 180 odd people that turned up on day one. I looked around the room. I was like, fuck. There's some heavy hitters here. Right. Senior sergeants and color sergeants and staff sergeants and the like.
UK's best turned up for this event, and
you think, fuck. Well, if they're here, maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I turned up to the wrong place. I need to be in another location. But yeah, and as the days go on, that the cookhouse where we all would assemble the DFAC, just gets less and less busy.
Right.
And you're like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm still here. So
Of course, there's always that paranoia that that you haven't made it yet, and there's a lot to do. But that confidence does like start to grow a little
Yeah.
bit. Like maybe this is possible.
yeah, so a buddy of mine, he got in as well, but he had this thing every night, and I didn't do it for the first night, but I did every night after that. He said, every night I'm going to go to the PX. It's called a NAFI in the UK, but the PX to the shop, and
Yeah.
I'm going to have a whole pizza and 2 pints of Guinness. Then I'm going to bed by 9 every night. So we'd eat chow at 5, 6, whatever it was. Do whatever map corrections we had to do. Go and weigh our kit ready for the next day. Make sure we had dry boots. Blah blah blah. And then we would go to the NAFI and have a whole pizza and 2 pints of Guinness every single night. And I swear to God, that's what got me through. I swear to God. And he said it. He said that he'd read it in, I think it was the book Bravo 20.
Okay.
I think he'd read it there about Andy McNabb's selection. And he was like, I'm doing that. If he got in, I'm doing it.
That's right.
I was like, okay, if that's an omen and we're going to do it, we're doing it. So we did.
Yeah.
So that was our thing. And it, I don't know. Did it help? I don't know. Extra calories probably.
At the end of that 4 weeks, what's next? So you passed that. Is that the? Make sure I get this question right. When you talk about selection, in fact, let's back up. What are all the different phases of selection? And the reason why I want to narrow this down is let's take SEAL Team 6 for example. Like when they talk about selection, they're still talking about their OTC, or what we call OTC, as their selection. But we parse out our selection in West Virginia, and once you're selected, then we don't call anything else selection after that.
Continuation.
Although OTC is very much still a selection process, we don't call it selection anymore. So is that similar to you guys? At what point is it still a selection process?
It's always a selection point. So until badging day, which is the last day where you're handed your beret and your belt, you are on selection. And you're known as such. Though in the reality and what I sort of later learned is by the time you pop out the back end of the jungle, we pretty much pick the people we want. Right. And then it becomes, and not that continuation training isn't pass fail, because it still is. Right. You can still come off at any time. But you know the people you're looking for, and you think they've got the aptitude to do what they need to do to get to the end.
Would it be fair to say, and we'll get into the jungle phase here in a little bit, but post jungle phase, up into there, you have to prove yourself, and then almost be fair to say post jungle phase, it's yours to lose.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah, they know what they're looking for. They know the group of guys you want.
Yeah, and you know what, the phases beyond the jungle, they're throwing a lot of information at you quickly. Yeah. So it's how fast you take on what it is that they're showing you, assimilate that information, and put it into practice at an acceptable standard. Because the next thing you do after selection is go to a squadron, and you could, like some of us have, is deploy almost instantly.
Correct.
So there's no sort of lag period. Well, just once you get here, take a year just to figure shit out, and then we'll go. It's not that way.
Is the biggest attritor where you lost the most guys the hill phase?
Yeah.
Or that's the big one.
So so the Parachute Regiment is a very prestigious regiment within the British Army, right? So we have a maroon beret, like most airborne folks do. So if you don't have a maroon beret, you are known to the Parachute Regiment as a crap hat, right? Which is about as insulting as you can be to another soldier, or hats for short.
Okay.
Or you call them screaming crap hats, or screamers for short.
Okay.
So we always used to say that the Hills phase got rid of the dreamers and the screamers, and it's true to it. And I don't mean any disrespect to the remainder.
It's just,
I mean, I kind of do, but anyway, old habits die hard. But it is true. But if you've turned up and you're not prepared, you will be exposed. If your navigation is not good enough, if your physical fitness isn't good enough, if your resolve is not good enough, if your ability to administrate yourself and be ready for the next day isn't good enough, you will be exposed. And that's it. You know, it is very much a war of attrition, as you say. And we lose the vast majority of people on the hills. Some through injury, and they will get invited back. Okay. Some because they don't make the cutoffs, and they are invited back. And some people just like, it's not for me, and they invariably don't come back.
Is there a limit to how many times you can go back to selection?
2.
is okay.
2 typically.
Typically, right, yeah.
And there are
There's always
exceptions.
exceptions.
Yeah, and normally I think that's a sort of a right to the regiment and say, hey, listen, I was young, I made a mistake, or I took myself off, or whatever. But like now that I'm older and wiser, I'd like another crack. And more often than not, it gets passed through.
So the next phase after this is after hill phase is what?
Jungle.
Jungle phase. Before we get into jungle phase, I want to make sure to do this. Tasty Gains. Wanted to make
Thank you very
sure
much.
that you had some creatine and some mental
My creatine needs.
and some mental focus. I'm not real good about taking creatine until Tasty Gains got in my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not going to take a powder bottle with me everywhere and mix it up. But those things goes in my computer bag, goes in my travel bag. It's so easy, and so it's the only way I keep creatine in my life.
I saw Joe Rogan talking about it, and I was like, right, I need these. 'Cause I'm like you, I can't carry lotions and potions around. It's
Lotions and potions.
Yeah.
I tell you.
yeah, little bag of sweets.
Yeah.
It's almost like a
And they
treat.
taste great. In fact, don't tell the other guests. I'll give you another couple bags before you leave. Make sure you're set up.
I'll eat a whole bag on the way home. It's only an hour drive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The relationship between us doesn't end just because we're both out. I still got you.
Yeah.
So we go to the and to finish that up, just so everyone knows, that also has a tier 1 promo code where you can get a discount. So go to tastygains.com, use tier 1, and get it at a reduced cost. It's a
all your
win-win
creatine
situation.
needs.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So we go into jungle phase.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. And where is it at?
Brunei.
Okay.
So think Malaysia way.
Okay.
Before we do that, there's a 2-week phase. So you move from Wales to Hereford.
Okay.
And it's the first time that you're actually on the camp where all the squadrons are.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Because I remember driving in, and maybe it's my memory that's done it to me, but I remember walking in under a veil of mist. Like it was this, like I arrived at Valhalla or something. I mean, it was fucking wild.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and Hereford in the winter, because it's close to the mountains, when the mist sits, it hangs. And it hangs low. So like building top low. It's just an eerie spot. And everyone's busy. No one's got time to stop. Oh, you're the guys from selections. And I hope you, good luck for the jungle. Like, fucking none of that. Like, who the fuck are these idiots? Don't sit over there in the cookhouse. You have your own spot. Don't sit where we sit.
Right. I love it.
And so you get there, and then it's sort of 2 weeks of pre-jungle training, because a lot of the guys have never been to the jungle before, so they need to get spun up with the contact drills and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Even basic things like how to pack a ruck and how to set up a hammock and a poncho, and because quite frankly, that sort of skill set, particularly these days with the living out of fobs and things, that whole skill set has somewhat faded. So there was a lot of that. But the officers have their officers' week, and that's where they get assessed on their brains.
Right.
And it's a pretty brutal week for them. The non-officer types, we have a far easier week than they do.
Yeah.
They get put through the ringer. And then everything lifts. We have 2 weeks of sort of local training, and then we spin off to the jungle. Then there's about a week or so acclimatizing to the environment, and we have some contact drills on rangers in 2s and 4s and 6s and man downs and rucks and all the rest of it. It builds before we then deploy into the jungle. And then when you get to you get flown into the jungle by heli, a patrol at a time, and you meet your instructor, and then you're actually inserted into the jungle, and that's you then for 4 weeks.
For you, this is roughly February, March timeframe.
March, yeah.
March.
Yeah.
Is winter over at this point where they're at, or is it? Still very much winter?
It's tropical jungle. It's humid as hell.
That's right. Yeah.
So you either depending on which you do, summer or winter, you either get a rainy season jungle, or a dry season jungle.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make a difference. It's just the jungle. You're going to get wet either way you look at it. It's either going to be rain or sweat. It's up to you.
Yeah. But at some point, it is crazy to think about. A month ago, I was thinking I was going to get frostbite on my toes.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm going to get dehydrated and
leech
die
off at the end of my nose.
die of a heat stroke.
Right.
With leeches on me.
Yeah.
It's just the short amount of time, the vast distance that you guys do your selection is impressive. Like it is. It's very cool to hear that.
It's cool. And when you look at, and the reason I've been asked this question a bunch of times, but the reason the jungle is still used to this day is because there's no gadgetry that's going to get you around the jungle. There's no amount of thermal scopes or NVGs or GPS that's going to make your life easy. It just isn't. It's very basic soldiering done well,
Right.
for 4 weeks straight. Because if you don't maintain your weapon every day, it'll rust and then it won't function. If you don't clean your feet and maintain those every day, then you'll get foot rot and then you're out. If you don't go down to the river every day to bathe, then you're going to get crotch rot or whatever the ailment's going to be. The jungle will kill you if you let it.
Yeah.
So it's a very pure environment in that it is soldiering in its essence, and that's I loved it. It's my favorite place to work. But there's no gimmicks to it. It just is what it is.
It's eye opening. So when we do some of our small unit tactics and swampy, wooded environments, doing the basics is, but like I said, doing the basics well. And here's the difference between that. You can be in a wide open field and you can start the beginning of this training, this react to contact, maneuver, lay down a base of fire, and then maneuvering another element and sweeping through. And when you do that in the field or a sparsely wooded environment, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Do that in the heavy woods. Do that at night. Do that in the swamp area where you don't want to get in the prone necessarily anymore. And you come to find out you have no idea where anybody's at, or it feels like it, like the first couple times you do that. You have no idea where anybody's at. You're pretty sure you're either going to shoot yourselves or the element moving up to flank. If you're the maneuvering element to flank, at the very beginning of my career, I remember maneuvering to flank and then going, where are they? I don't know where I'm flanking. It's just it's so chaotic. It's so confusing. But it's the same exact movements that we did here that we're doing there. But I think it really has to do. It's a great situational awareness exercise. It really shows who's thinking, who can really process this, and who can't.
And we used to see that a lot. That sort of tunnel vision. People get they're looking down their iron sights, because you can't use optics, but you're looking down your iron sights, and that's all they see. You're like, dude, you need to see this because there's people there. There's people there. Yes, you're flanking, but where's the point of fire? Where's the enemy, for God's sake? If you've maneuvered into a position to hit that flanking assault on them, you still need to know where everybody else is, because the chances of a blue on blue is a thing.
It really is. And here's the oxymoron of it. I call it operating, doing the basics at a high level. Is really what it's still the basics, but not a lot of people get a chance to do the basics at a high level, and that ends up. Because our backgrounds are so similar, that doesn't change almost the rest of our career. Like, we don't do anything really special tactically. We just do the basics better than everybody else, generally speaking.
And we have the time and the assets to train.
Yeah,
which in I can't speak to the US Army, but I know for certain in the UK Army, like even ammunition now is a thing. Oh well, you'll get the 45 rounds you need to pass your annual qualification.
Right.
Well, what about some training so that I'm proficient before I hit the qualification? No, we'll just walk you through
right.
That's ridiculous.
What is it in the jungle phase? How long is it?
So all in, it's about 6 weeks. A couple of weeks before we go under the canopy, and then 4 weeks under the canopy.
4 weeks in. Yeah, it's a long time to be under canopy.
It is. It is.
Does it? I know it's a weird question. Does it feel like it? And what I mean by that is are you so busy all the time, like you don't really feel the time? I'm sure at some point you do, or is it? I feel like I've been in here for 3 months. Yeah,
I'm trying to think. So obviously, I did it as a student, as an instructor. So I'm trying to think what it felt like as a student, and I don't recall being as cognizant of the time as I was certainly as an instructor. But because you're just so immersed in what it is that you're doing, you don't really have time to sit and ponder. Although you do have time. Obviously, you can't move at night, so as soon as it gets dark, you're in your hammock and you're sleeping. But you do spend time thinking. But you're so fucking tired, you just sleep, and then you wake up before it's light. Stand to, get your shit ready to go, and away we go again.
Is it Is that what it is? It's a bunch of small unit tactics and ambushes and raids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lots of patrolling, navigation, case retrieval, ambush, that sort of thing.
At what size element? Do the elements vary, or do you stay
Yeah,
within
so
a small
it's
group?
anything from a 4 to a 6-man team.
Okay.
And then occasionally you'll come together as troops or half squadrons.
Okay.
And do stuff. I mean, and we typically had, certainly in my time as an instructor, we had, I don't know, maybe the most we ever had was about 40 dudes at any one time. I know there have been some bigger ones where there was, mid 60s, but typically anywhere between 30 and 45 is about what you're taking to the jungle.
Is there a particular final exercise that you guys do? What is that?
It's an insertion, close target reconnaissance, and then an attack.
Okay.
And that spans about 10 days.
And then after that, if let's say rough numbers, you show up there with 40. He said this
You don't finish with 40.
But we're not finishing with 40, but it's not the same as the hills.
No.
But you're definitely losing people.
Yeah.
What, 10%, 20%?
No, probably a little higher, mate.
Yeah.
Maybe 30, 40%, I guess.
What is it? What is it that if someone's not passing jungle phase, if you had to put it at one or two things, what is it that they're not doing right? Or not capable of, or
you know what? It's
reason.
not. They're not capable of having the resolve to get to the end. Is what they're not capable of. I'm sure most people I've seen go through the jungle would have been capable of passing had they just stuck it out.
Yeah.
But they don't. They overanalyze and they overthink and they assess themselves out of the game. And some people will. I had a student come up to me. So you get on the helicopter from the main camp in Brunei. And then you insert to the jungle base camp. And you do it a patrol at a time. So normally you'll go in and then your students will go in, and sometimes you're in first and sometimes, whatever. But I had a student, because the morning of, so we've been there for 2 weeks already. He's done the hills, been in Brunei for 2 weeks.
Right.
He comes up to me and he says, "Staff, I've had an epiphany." I was like, "How have you now?" He said, "Yeah, I have. I've decided the jungle is not for me." And I was like, well, that's interesting, given we haven't even gone to the fucking jungle yet. There's a jungle over there, and we're still stood here. So how have you had this epiphany when we haven't even landed in the jungle? And he was like, this just isn't going to be for me. And you know what? I don't shit on people for that, because you don't know what's going on in their life. They could have, a wife at home or a kid that's ill and whatever. And life gets in the way. And sometimes the timing for them just isn't right, and they make the decision to leave, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I appreciate that too for those reasons, and an extra one. I've had people tell, and maybe they just are better men than me, which wouldn't be too hard to fathom. You can find better than me all throughout the Delta Force.
Right.
We had some guys, that said, like, I've never thought about quitting, and to them, if anyone even thinks about quitting, like, you are a quitter, and it's only a matter of time before you quit. I can't go as far to say that I've never not thought about quitting. Of course, I've thought about quitting. But it never controlled me. It never really, for the most part, and it was something I really entertained. Of course, sitting there on a cold day, I go back to Florida, going, I could be on a beach right now in Florida. What am I doing here?
Yeah, the fuck this moment.
Absolutely. But if quitting has taken over the mentality, so much, let's go ahead and get it done now, because it's only going to get worse from here.
No, and the funny thing is, I often thought about this more as an instructor than as a student, but I thought these guys would never, ever, ever think of withdrawing from like a battalion level exercise, a training exercise.
Right.
They just wouldn't, because the humiliation would be never ending, because the guys would never let them get away with it. But also the battalion doesn't give you a get out. They don't give you, if you want to leave, it's cool. We'll put you on a helicopter, you go back to your nice comfortable bed, and no harm, no foul. Whereas they have that out and they know it. So I think that also plays on their mind, because when you have this fuck this moment, you think, you know what, I don't need to be doing this. But the sad thing is, for a lot of those guys, and I take my selection for example, because the very next thing that happened was 9/11. So I bet you so many of the dudes who were like, yeah, this isn't for me, but kick themselves when 9/11 happened. Like, son of a bitch. I wonder what the dudes I did selection with are doing now. So it
Absolutely.
It really, those moments are, you talk about forks in the road in your life.
Yeah.
For some of those people, the decision they made took them down a path, and it could have taken them somewhere completely different.
Yeah, I agree. It's easier to understand this, when you're older, looking back, and you still realize it to some degree in the moment. But you don't know how vast this decision can be. It's why it's so important that if there's something you want to do, like, for me, go be a Green Beret. It's why I decided to go at least try, because I didn't want to live a life of regrets. I didn't want to be older and be like, I could have done that, or worse, I should have done that.
Well, I was gonna, but
exactly.
I mean, them dudes, if you met.
Yeah,
I was gonna be in the parachute regiment, but then I developed a fucking cyst in my testicle. Like, whatever, still do it.
Yeah, and you have no idea what's next. And no one before 9/11 could have even fathomed what was coming up in just a short amount of time, and what elite units were going to be asked to do. Yeah. So since you don't know, do it all. Do everything you can, and do it at a high level. It's because life is crazy. Life is crazy. You leave the jungle phase, and what's the next phase of training? If you've ever been to any of my tactical training classes, then you know how adamant I am about the use of white light and the importance of a quality, high-powered tactical light. That's why I use cloud defensive tac lights. You can't hit what you can't see, and neither can the bad guys. Clearly identify your target and simultaneously overwhelm his vision with hundreds and even thousands of lumens. Get serious about defending yourself and your family. Go to clouddefensive.com and use promo code TIER1 to get 30% off your order. That's right, 30%. You won't find a better light than this, and you won't find a better deal than this.
I think the counter-terrorist phase.
Okay.
So I think Iranian embassy, no-mech suits, respirators running around buildings, just, a sort of an intro to CQB.
Right.
Is probably the best way to phrase it. Pistol work, MP5s as it was at the time. Mm-hmm. And that's changed a lot now, but that's how it was then. And that was, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. And it was pass or fail when I did it, for sure. But I never felt like there was the same level of pressure as was in the jungle. And I know that's very much changed now, because it's the guys that run that element of training don't take any prisoners. Like, you've got to be mustered by the time you leave there, otherwise you're out. And that was probably the same for us. I just didn't feel it. It almost felt like, okay, the two big chunks, the two parts I was most worried about are done. Yeah. And now I feel like I can sort of just breathe. And now I'm learning new things. So I'm just, hoovering up all this information that's given to me and trying to make some sense of it and make it work so that I can demonstrate I can do the things, and then we move on to the next thing. Yeah. And that takes I want to say 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah.
Well, at least now you're doing what I guess you would perceive to be is SAS things.
Very much so.
Everything else you did is I have to do this to get to what I want to do.
It felt a little infantry. This didn't. This felt right. This felt sexy, for one of a better phrase.
You're here. You're here to do the job.
Yeah, we got all the new things and different guns, and it was cool. Right, very cool.
You feel like you're starting to finally look behind the curtain.
Yeah, a little bit. And every day you're one step closer to that eventual goal of we call it being badged, right? When you're badged into the unit, and it's cool. And because you land up with a different set of instructors, that you only have them for whatever time frame you're with them, and they're not your selection instructors. Your selection instructors are still there in the background, setting up for other things and the next phase or whatever that is. And then, but these are squadron dudes. Not that the instructors aren't; they are, but they're there specifically. But yeah, it just seemed a lot. The learning environment seemed more relaxed. Still a lot to cover and a lot to do. Right. Just the perception of pressure seemed a little less.
Have you gotten into explosive breaching yet at this point?
No.
Or is it more just entering and gun handling skills?
Yeah, this is just shotgunning locks and that's about it.
But it seems like that's the the starting point to work up to that. I mean, that's the road we're on now in selection, is continuing to work up to more advanced things.
Indeed, yeah.
So that very beginning phase was 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was about 4 weeks, something like that.
So what's the next phase after that?
So then we start getting into, I can't remember the exact order, but it was either what is now SEER,
Okay.
or it was the jumps course. I can't remember which. But if you were from the parachute regiment or the Marines, and you had your jump wings, then you didn't have to go and do the full jumps course.
Right.
You only went into the screamers. They had to go and do. They had to go to Bryce Norton, which is the RAF home of parachuting, and they had to go and do the rounds course.
Yep.
And then we would all come back together for the squares course. So we did 2 weeks of French. Fucking hated it.
Really?
Hated it. Yeah.
Was there anyone that could have also skipped SEER because they'd already been to SEER, or is this particular SEER everyone has to go?
Even if you'd done some sort of SEER, you're in. You're doing the full ish. So
Love to hear it.
that's like 5 days on the run, and then you get lifted at the end, and you go into the bag, and that is what it is.
Are you guys doing your advanced CQB still within the selection process, or do you guys get that at Squadron?
Yeah, so that becomes more now a Squadron thing. So
Okay.
we get the basics of doing what we need to do. Quite frankly, there's just not enough time within that 6 month. And we looked for a time at making selection a year.
Yeah.
So that the actual selection phase finished after 6 months, but then there was another 6 months of all your infiltration skills, all your patrol skills, all your advanced CQB breaching, all the rest of that stuff would be covered in that second 6 month block.
Right.
But it never got traction and never lifted off.
It's a lot.
So it's still something that now when you get to the Squadron as a new guy, you're fucking jumping through your ass trying to get all this stuff spun up.
Right.
Not considering, of course, the Squadron's doing what it's doing. So if it's going, you're going with them.
Right.
But you might have your skill set, you might be partway through it, or you might get left off the manifest because you've got to go and do this other thing.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing too.
We call it the Halo course or the free fall course. Where do you guys do that at?
So oddly enough, unless you go to an air troop, you don't do the free fall course.
Okay.
And I know I think that's changing. But there was a push when I was still in the Squadron to make everybody hey ho qualled.
Right.
Because that was a thing that we were starting to use more often than not.
Right.
But yeah, and again, this boils back down to the conversation we were having about diving.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things you've got to keep current at. That sometimes there's just too many things, and you have to forego one. So the decision was made way before I turned up that free fall would only be the preserve of air troop.
Yep.
Everyone else was jumpers, but not free fall qualified.
Right. And I get that because it means you still have that capability, but just not everyone has to maintain that skill because they like you're about to get into with your career. There's so many things you have to be good at. We can't be the best at everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's absolutely it's a lot. And it's I think one of the biggest misconceptions for the Delta Force when people talk to me about it at times, they're like, well, yeah, of course you should be really good at CQB and shooting. I mean, that's all you guys do. And I just kind of laugh a little bit on the inside and be like, you think
that's the sum total of what we do.
You think that's all we do? And then there's another part was like that. It goes back to that inner voice. It isn't as nice as my inner voice here is in my mid 40s, where I'm like, what makes you think you know what the Delta Force does? Like, how could you even say that with such an assertiveness that you know what we do? You have no idea what we do.
Yeah.
You have no idea what the Delta Force does. But you're going to sit here and tell me you know what the only thing we do is CQB and shooting.
Yeah, that's the bit we do right at the end when we've done all the other shit we have to do to get there.
Right.
That's the bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Where were you when 9/11 happened?
I was on my first operation with the regiment. I was actually running up and down an airfield. It was one of the days we had some downtime, running up and down an airfield, and a buddy of mine came out waving his arms. I was like, oh, fuck, I better get back in. Something's happened. Like I thought we'd got a shout and we were going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I went back and he was like, dude, you got to come see this. So we went into the common room where the TVs are, right as the second plane hit the towers. And then I was like, dude, what the fuck is this? He was like,
Right.
This is live in New York. I was like, well, is that an accident? He was like, no, we think that they've been attacked.
Yeah.
And so we watched everything unfold, and I forget what the timestamp was, maybe an hour. But our boss came in, he was like, right, fellas, the world as you know it has changed. We're going to be busy for at least the next decade. I'm like, okay. And we lifted and shifted, and the rest is history, as I say.
Man, that's crazy that he had the insight to even say the next decade.
Yeah.
Because, as I start, that's what brought me into the military, and I was in a hurry to get to combat because I thought it was going to be over. A lot of us did. Yeah, he had the foresight to go, we're going to be busy for the next decade.
Yeah.
And even that, if you'd have told me then, I'd have thought that would have been almost an exaggeration of a timeline, and he was still off.
Yeah, still off by a decade.
He was still off by a decade.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy. And he'd have been the closest person I've ever heard of guessing how long we were going to be busy for.
Dude, and he, you know what? He was a really, really, really good commander. He later went on to be the CEO of the unit. And, we thought he was going to become the director, which is the brigadier that runs the whole shebang. And he bowed out, and it was a real shame. He's one of the few commanders I would have followed on a wing and a prayer. He was like, "Hey, we're going to do this." I'm like, "That sounds fucking dangerous. I'm in." But and honestly, I've met other officers I wouldn't have followed them into the bathroom to knock them out. To be quite honest, but him, I was like, "Yeah, whatever you're saying, that's what we're doing." He was just a fucking great officer, and he actually lives here in the US now. Works for a big mining company.
Really,
fantastic guy though. Yeah, good dude.
Here's another I think misconception is, and don't get me wrong, it's not a complete misconception. When you're at a tier 1 or national level unit, something happens, you yourself or everyone's going, and that's not necessarily the truth. There's more than just me. There's more than just me and my team.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to Afghanistan? And what's now goes in a little bit of this luck. You could be in the first wave, you could be in the second wave, you could be in the third wave.
So you're right. Sometimes it's right place, right time.
Right.
And it just so happened that the 2 squadrons that got selected to go, I was in one of them, and they wanted all of us to go, so we did. But the very first operation I went on, half the squadron went, and I wasn't in the half that went. It's like, fuck.
So you got picked to go forward.
Yeah, but so I just sat back. I can't remember what I was doing. I was doing something else, but I was like, well, this is shit. And then said, well, don't be too far from your pages, because we had mobile phones, but not like now.
Right.
No, don't be too far from your pages. That's how they'd send you all the 9s, and then you would call in and, hey, what's going on? We can't tell you, but you need to come into work. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So that call came about a week after half the squadron went, and then we went too. And then it was whilst we were deployed, 9/11 happened, and we came back, picked up a different shade of uniform, and off we went. So it was we were boots on the ground, mate. I reckon within, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks tops.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was a quick turnaround.
That's moving out.
Yeah.
When Iraq kicked off, which would have been 03. And I'm sure you'd have been, in and out in Afghanistan, doing what you guys did. What did you think? I mean, this has got to be a wild time, to be again in at this unit. There's already one full scale war going on. You're like, you know what? Let's do another one. Same time. Let's
just double fist the war.
Let's just do it.
I was actually in Afghanistan on a small task. The remainder of the squadron were back in the UK, I think. And they then handed over from the squadron who was in Baghdad at the time. They took over, and my task finished up. And I thought, well, I'll go back to the UK and then maybe get some leave, and then I'll join the squadron. Oh, no. They were just send whatever you don't need back to the UK, and you get on that bird and meet us in Baghdad. I was like, oh, perfect.
Right.
So that's what I did. But I mean, again, it was fucking Wild West back then.
Yeah, and you can't go back and tell anyone who quit, or can't even tell, past you, how important it was to keep going. But this is now your life. No one else in the military outside, well, at least we'll say, the UK military in general are ever going to be asked to do that, or ever going to see something like that and be like, no, just, you're special. Take your bags, leave from here, go right to there. I mean, just the things you're now allowed to do, the options you have are just unlike anything anyone is going to experience. And at some point, it just becomes your life.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny because in the parachute regiment, when you move from one place to another, you move as a full company or a battalion unit, and you'll be 600 of you at the airport, and you get on a C-17 or C-130, and you all go.
And it doesn't happen fast.
No, but then roll on a few years later when you're like I did, they were like, okay, send those bags on that plane. You get on that helicopter, you're going to meet another plane there on your own, and then you're just going to land up at this other place. Fucking hell, okay.
It's you don't realize it then. I don't know when it is you realize it. For me, I think it was more towards the end of my career where I really started looking back and being more appreciative on the things I was doing. And then definitely when I got out. But I just hear those things, and I don't think you realize it at the time. Maybe you did. Hopefully you did. But your life was a movie at that time. Like you realize that.
You're right. And funny enough, in the first few years, everything was new, right? You're doing all the things for the first time. And eventually by the sort of second or third rotation, you kind of get into the swing of things, and it becomes somewhat of the norm.
Yeah.
But then, as you say, as you get a little bit older and you look back and you see the new guys coming through, how excited they are, and you're like, oh, fuck, not this again. And they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, this is shit. And it just, how the cynicism creeps in over time. You're like, actually, you know what? This isn't shit. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That we actually still get to do this shit. And I think you forget that at some point you're not going to do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
And that's probably the worst part of that career is when it all ends, because it ends pretty abruptly, or it certainly did for me.
Right. It did for me too. I at one point thought I had years and years left in me, and my body and my brain at some point was like, I don't think you have that much longer left in you.
Your body's writing checks your knees can't cash. What are you talking about?
Exactly. You said something that's actually very interesting, and I don't think I realized it as much until you just said that. It is so funny. Excited new guys coming in is sometimes what it took to remind me like how special this place is, because you just see how excited they are to be here, and they're like, you know what? That's right. Like that was me. Like this is a dream.
This is fortunate. Yeah.
Right. This is fortunate.
Spoiled.
Yeah.
Fucking.
And there's two things.
Ungrateful.
There's two things I can do. I can either go over there and crush his dreams and tell him how tired I am, and try to bring reality to him, or I could or his excitement can be contagious, and I can remember how awesome this place really is.
Which is probably the better of the two options.
It's the better of two options, and unfortunately, a little bit of both I think happens in reality.
I'm so excited for you, but this fucking sucks. Just so you know, you're gonna hate this in 5 years' time.
He reminds me a little bit that this place is better, and then I remind him a little bit. You don't know anything.
It's youthful optimism. This too will pass.
You end up going to Iraq. Were you fortunate on the Iraq side? Is like during the invasion or shortly after?
So I think just after. So just after everything
Still
was sort of
fresh.
secured. Yeah.
And at some point, you guys got to work with us. The unit during.
It's pretty much straight out the gate.
Were you working with us in Afghanistan as well?
Not initially.
Okay.
I think we had different AOs.
Right.
But certainly, Iraq, all through the campaign that we spent there. I mean, we were there I was in and out of there for probably the better part of 8 years, I guess.
Yeah.
But every time I did, we were always right next door to you, either in the first spot or the second spot that we landed up picking up.
So Iraq would have been the first time that you got to work with the U.S. military Tier 1 units. Would that be?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
When that first started happening, let's say like, hey, we're going to work with these guys, we're going to be living next to them. I'm sure you were either told that or you found out real quick when you got there what the environment was. did you have any preconceived notions about the Americans and the Delta Force? Or
No, not bad ones. No,
but yeah, just
no, just I mean, I was conscious that we were essentially cut from the same cloth.
Yeah,
and I knew guys who'd worked with you guys for a long, long time, and said they're basically, like you said, they're basically us with funny accents. And so that became the thing, and you know, so we would hang out together. Once we made the hole in the wall, we'd hang out together and, you know, shoot the shit, cut up. If we were working, sometimes we work side by side. Sometimes you do your thing, we do our thing. So there was a lot of cross-pollination. And one of the things I really liked is that, particularly the lessons identified piece, is that we willingly shared that backwards and forwards, so that neither of us made the mistake that the other had made. Or when we're aware of a new TTP, like, you know what, they're fucking starting this shit. Yeah. So that was really cool, and I think that in of itself saved a lot of fucking heartache for us both in the long term.
You kind of glossed over it real quick, but the hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. So apparently, as I understand it, we live next to each other. Yeah. The two units,
identical. I think you couldn't call them houses. They're like a freaking 20-bedroom mansion type house. Former politician types. All right. You had one. We had the one next door, but there was a wall between the two. Right. So we just got. I don't know whose Dems dudes did it, ours or yours. Right. But we blew a hole through the adjoining wall so that we could walk to you and you could come to us. So that we essentially didn't have to leave the compound to go out to come around and knock on the front door. We just went through the wall. Yeah. And so that's just how it became. And the cool thing is we used to trade things like, you know, we've got this bit of kit and that kit, and, you know, we're switching things around. Yeah. But then when we turned up, dude, we didn't have half the fucking kit we needed. Yeah. We were rocking M4-ish with ACOGs and some bullshit body armor and terrible helmets, no cry kit, like none of that was a thing. And then this same officer I was telling you about, by that time he was the colonel, and he turned around and he was like, you know what, we're missing a fucking trick here. If we're going to run side by side with these guys, we need to get up to speed. So go and get the NVGs we need, go and get the helmets we need, go and get the plate carriers we need, go and get the level of protection we need, go and get the fucking vehicles we need. Yeah. When we first rolled out, dude, we had 110 Land Rovers, I shit you not, 110 Land Rovers with ballistic shields plastic cuffed to the side of them. That was our armored platform. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But not it wasn't too many rotations after that. Then we started having, you know, armored vehicles like your Pandas and whatnot. And then very, very quickly the two units started to look on the battlefield much the same in terms of equipment and capability. Yeah. But the dudes, you know, it's a slightly different uniform, but it's the same creature. Yeah,
I'd love to hear that. Here's something that started from 1977 that goes on right now and will never stop. It's so ingrained in me. I have forgotten that it sounds weird. And what I'm talking about is this: when you show up to OTC, like in the regular United States military, you're always told, like, this is your battle buddy. This is your fellow soldier. This is your swim buddy. It's all sorts of monikers and names for the guy next to you. There's only one name that you call someone that works with you at the unit, and that's your mate. Go check on your mate. Hey, make sure your mate is there. When your mates put the door charge up, they're going to come back here. And our instructors are always talking about these mates. That's not a term used in the United States military. No, it's not. At all. And then you just kind of pick up that lingo, and then it just becomes normal. Everyone says, hey, this is my mate. And you forget when you talk to other units because and we're so secluded, like you kind of live in your own world. In your own bubble, but at some point, you can see someone's face go, that's weird. Why'd you call him a mate? And then we get around you guys, and you guys use the same terminology. It doesn't sound weird at all because we use the same terminology. Yeah. But I know that sounds like a real small thing, but to pick up another country's terminology for what you call your teammate, I mean, it's huge. It's a huge tip of the hat.
I was about to say that. I think that's quite a nice tip of the hat. I think it's a cool thing.
Right. I mean, I don't expect you guys to do it back, but if you guys want to call each other dudes or something like that, that'd be cool. I mean, we did it for you guys, but you guys don't do it for us. It's no big deal. I mean, you guys deserved it.
We're resting on our laurels on that one.
You were the first, so I understand why you don't do it. But yeah, it's more than just our how we set up. It even goes into our terminology with things like mates. So if I think a little bit longer, I'm sure there's some other terminology that we took from you guys. But I say that whole thing because again, it started from 1977, and you have no idea what the future is. And now you fast forward to 2004, 2005, and into my time, and even at the end of my time, till right now, those two units are absolutely intertwined. Absolutely intertwined.
I think they always will be.
And I think they always will be.
I think it always will be. Yeah.
I told a story once on a podcast that some people in the comment section got very upset about it, and I don't care. I do not care. They don't understand the relationship. I said, here, let me put it to you this way: if I was in Syria, and like a fellow Green Beret came and knocked on my door, I came from the Green Berets, and knocked on my door and just wanted to hang out at my compound, I'd be like, get out of here. Go walk 40 miles, and then you can come hang out in this compound.
Beat it, nerd.
Beat it, nerd.
Yeah.
But if he left, and another guy with a funny British accent comes up,
All right, mate.
knocks on my door and says, "Hey, from the 2-2, we got told to come over here and hang out with you guys." I'd be like, "Get in here, let's go. Do you want to move in?"
And that's a funny thing, dude. No matter where you go in the world, if you land up in these random places, the first thing I always used to look for, I was like, is there any Delta cats out here?
Right.
Yeah, there's such and such. Oh, mega. And then you'd find someone. And you know, take the mate thing out of it. What you also realized is that if shit went south when you're in this place all by yourself,
absolutely,
you've got someone else that you can turn to and say, hey, listen, here's my number. If you need me, call me.
Absolutely.
Equally, here's my number. Call me if you need me.
That's a huge point.
That's a safety blanket that's nice to have, because you know the level of training that they're at. You know what they're capable of.
Right.
So you're like, well, if we have to run and gun, we're doing it together.
Right. And you know their authorities. Anyone can sit there and tell you and say, hey, give me a call. If you need me, I'll be there. That's just not true. The chance of you putting your job on the line, or getting to go out and get into a gunfight without approvals, is slim to none. But if I call you guys, the approvals are already there. I know that, really, whether they're or not, I know you guys will be there.
Our comms always go down when that happens, back to base. So I tried to call and I couldn't. So
when I made that comment on that podcast, there's some people in the comment section that were just couldn't fathom that I would turn away another American, but they don't understand.
And I would suggest the same is true. If I was telling you that story earlier about one of your teams was down where we were, which is out of their normal AO, and they were waiting on a trigger to go. We were like, dudes, come hang out. Yeah. And we hung out for, I don't know, probably 2 weeks by the time the trigger actually went. But we had a blast. We just hung out and talked shit. This is a legit story, right? So you remember Rambo First Blood?
For sure.
Yeah. Who doesn't? So he had that trademark green jacket. Right?
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
So your guys' team comes down, and there's probably 6 of us down there, and probably maybe 8 or 10 of you. And we'd got some local fixers to get us these Rambo-esque jackets. And the guys turned up like, where the fuck did you get those jackets from? They're fucking awesome. I was like, we'll get you some. So we did. So we had our guys go out the next day, picked up a bunch of these jackets, and we gave your guys these jackets.
Right.
But then we took the first part of their name and put Bo on the end. So you would have been Brent Bo. I was Dunk Bo. And so we just hung out with these fucking ridiculous jackets on with a bow on the end of it. And dude, that was us for 2 weeks walking around these jackets. I'm like, who the fuck are these idiots?
I'm not going to sit here and tell you everyone I worked with was a comedian. That's not the case. But I will tell you this: it's an unusual amount of very funny people work at these units, which is a little bit ironic because they're also the most serious people on target you will ever meet. As soon as the plane comes down, as soon as they hit that, get on the helicopter, as soon as the helicopter lands, they may not say a word, just steely-eyed, laser focus.
Yeah. Like when you put the armor on, like a muzzle on a dog, it's work time. You get that muzzle off, it's not going to work.
And of course, some of them can barely wait until target secure before the jokes come out again.
Yeah.
But they were not only were they the highest performing people I've ever been around, they've just been the funniest people I've ever been around. And that's just another like nod to it, like putting Bo at the end of everyone's names.
I met a dude when I was away, and he and I were cutting up one night, and I said, "Wouldn't it be cool if we could write a book?" And the book was just like toilet reading,
right?
A couple of pages of these silly stories that we tell over a beer or whatever, but an encyclopedia of these ridiculous stories and the shit that you do and you get away with, on the dark side of the wire. I just think it'd be and I said, wouldn't it be cool if we could call it Delta Farce and the Special Air Circus?
Circus,
dude, that's the best name ever. Obviously, we didn't do anything with it, but I still think there's a story to be told.
Absolutely.
And again, not creeping into any TTPs but just those sorts of silly things. Yeah, Brent Bow, perfect.
I love it. You spent how long did you end up spending in the SAS?
About 21 years, I think, when all said and done.
Like, you realize how insane that is. You spend as much time in the SAS than some people do in the military as a whole. Like, it was a whole career.
You know what? I was just lucky, and it like I said, when my company commander in Two Power said, "You need to go now. Don't wait another 10 years. Go now."
Well,
I mean, his words were almost prophetic, but that led me to have the career that I had. That conversation was what set that touch paper alight, and I'm thankful that it did, because the timing of my arrival in the unit couldn't have been any better, really. If I had done the next selection, I'd have missed the first wave of fun.
Right.
So,
and maybe you don't go to that same squadron, and then then everything else in
and
your
I wouldn't
career
have gone.
is
a completely
changed.
different trajectory.
Yeah.
And there's lots of sort of touch points in my career that I look back on. I'm like, I wasn't really happy with how that worked, or I wish I'd have done that. And I used to see dudes go away on these little, these onesies and twosies. They go on these cool little jobs, and they come back and they tell you all the shit that they did. Like, fuck, why wasn't that me? But then you think about it. Well, hang on. But I also went to get to do these little things, and
that's right.
I'm sure other people are like, fuck, why didn't I get to do that? But you can't be on everything,
right?
Exactly. You just can't.
Right.
And some guys are luckier than others. They get on lots of cool shit. Some dudes don't. But it's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was lucky. I was lucky to do quite a wide spectrum of things. So I didn't leave with any regrets. Of course, there were things I would have liked to have done. But like I said, you can't be on every X.
Right.
You get what you get, and you got to be thankful for that, I suppose.
This is more of a conversational podcast. So I'm just excited to tell stories about the units, as well. Not just your story, obviously primarily your story, but to get to tell you things as well. So I was leaving Syria one trip, and I was asked if I'd go to Hereford and basically brief them up on what's going on right now. Like, so before I went home, I went directly to Hereford and didn't have any drinks. No. And
we don't drink in the SAS. Not a thing. So, we do not have squadron bars anyway.
Do not.
Not a thing.
Just consummate professionals.
Yeah.
And as I'm going there, a guy's name we've already mentioned, mutual friend of ours, says, "Hey, have you ever been to Hereford?" And I said, "Actually, no, this would be my first time going." I ended up going several times after that. But he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna set up a tour for you if you want." I'm like, "I would love that. I'd absolutely love that." And so some new guys come and pick me up from the airport, and I get my own personal driver, all the way there. And it's not close; it's several hours from London.
Hours, yeah.
And we didn't stop at any bars on the way in.
No,
and
that'd be unprofessional.
And we get there, and what was professional was I get there, and they take me around from whatever it is, the air shop to the mobility shop to all these different things. And when I get there, he walks me up there. There's a representative from each shop, and he comes in and he gives me the most professional brief. This is who we are. This is what we do. These are our capabilities. Follow me. And I go inside. Everything's laid out. They tell me, like, this is what we use this for. This is what we use that for. This is what we use that for. And after the first one, I'm like, this is crazy. Now I'm starting to get some imposter syndrome. I'm like, this is too much. Like, why are they doing this for me? Second one, third one.
Did I think I'm a general? Oh.
You beat me to it. I turn to this guy and I go, hey, like, do they think I'm a commander? Do they think I'm someone like more important? Do they know I'm just an operator? And he goes, mate, just an operator? You're an operator. That's why they're doing this for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's just humbling. You know, it's super cool that that outlook and that culture and that answer was one of the coolest things I think an SAS guy could ever tell me.
And I don't go back to Hereford all that often, but when I do, I'd always try and get around the various spots on camp to look at, you know, the museums and things like that, because they're living, breathing things, and they change and evolve. Yeah. So there's lots and lots of history there. It's cool.
Oh, that's something else I thought was really cool, really unique, and that's very different about us. You know, we were formed in 1977. You guys were formed in the early 40s, mid 40s at best. Yeah, within World War II. By Sterling, and who has a statue there, and you guys have 80 years of history behind you from World War II all the way forward, and that's clear. Like you guys been doing this for a long time. Have done a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, even though you are within the unit, you still look. Look, one of my favorite times is when we have squadron reunions, and we call them the old and bold. Now
The old and bold. I love that.
Now I realize I am the old and fucking bold, right? But we get the older guys, and you know, we were lucky enough to get guys who were in Mirbat, guys who were in North Africa, to come back and sit with them and just chat. And like you say, you know, we're cut from the same cloth, slightly different accent. They're cut from the same cloth, just considerably older.
Exactly.
They've done some fucking cool things. Yeah. If you sit long enough to listen, they'll have a couple of beers and, you know, spin dits about North Africa and Hitler, and you're like, this is fucking wild. Yeah. It's like listening to a museum talk. It's incredible. And sadly now, you know, we've lost a lot of those dudes are now gone. They're not around. But we still get. I'm actually going to a squadron reunion this year, and so I'll get to see a lot of the guys, and hopefully some of the older and bolder will come back for sit down with a few beers, and that they normally get out of hand.
Well, one of the nicknames we give the older guys, which again is dummy, is the graybeards.
The graybeards,
yeah. Well.
Yeah, we stole that from you, actually.
Oh, yes, we got one.
Yeah, you got one. You take that one. Yeah, we call it the Greybeard Network. You always, if you tap into the Greybeard Network, there's always somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who can get you whatever you need.
Right. Yeah. That network, that group chat that I've been has is a very small group of people, but there's not. I don't know if there's ever been a time that someone's requested a contact into something, no matter how small or how big.
Dude, I threw something out the other day, and I was like, "There's no fucking way anybody's going to know anybody." Like within about 4 minutes, a guy can get you in touch with a guy who knows a guy. Fair enough.
Have you ever read the book Rogue Warriors?
I have. So in fact, there's a series of books written by the same.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rogue Heroes. Rogue Heroes. Yes, and it's right up there.
I didn't read it. I listened to it as an audiobook.
Fair enough.
I've covered the topic. If
that's right. Yeah, I love the integrity there, but I would accepted that.
I was driving. Reading and driving is bad.
One of my favorite books. One of my favorite books.
Have you watched the series?
Operation? No, I haven't.
So there's a series. I want to say Amazon Prime, maybe Netflix.
Okay. And I know there is a series, but I haven't watched it.
It's pretty good.
Is it closely follow the book?
Yes. And when I watch things like that, I don't end up shouting at the TV and turning it off and throwing a tantrum. Right. But it's watchable. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty true to.
I'm
to what
telling
the
you,
book says.
I read that book, Rogue Heroes, and I'm comfortable with my career. I know what I've done. I've been to war a bunch of times, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, and other various places. I've done some things. I'm telling you, I've done some things. I read that book and felt like a small man.
Right.
Felt like I hadn't seen war. Like I felt like I was like, you know what? I don't know if I could even consider myself that had really gone to war to some degree.
When I read that book, one of the things that struck me, you know how we would sit and, you know, we'd get a set of orders and they'd be like, right, infill looks like this, exfil looks like that, and all the bits in between. Well, when you read that book, all they had was the infill bit. And then so you haven't covered the exfil bit. No, that's on you. You just walk back to England from Italy. Yeah. When you're done, just make your way back. You're like, fuck, okay, thanks.
Right.
Oh, mental.
Especially, the early on days of Northern Africa, and them hitting airfields and just the most austere environment, knowing that, airplanes were eventually going to come look for them, and you're in the desert and you got nowhere to hide, and just covering insane miles. I can't even fathom it of guys getting back to base and being like, hey, is everybody here? Some of them keep coming in. Some of them haven't made it back yet. Like not even knowing what happened to your force, and give it a couple days, and that's just who we got back, and everyone else is just presumed dead. Like it's absolutely insane. If anyone hasn't read Rogue Heroes, you think we're exaggerating or can't really understand, read that book.
Yeah, give it a read.
It's the history of the SAS, and everything Sterling went through to get it started, how he got it off the ground, their first missions into Northern Africa, and it goes on to Italy and France, if I remember right. Yeah. And just a great book. Gosh, it was a good book. I'm glad you read it.
I went years ago, a bunch of us jumped on motorbikes and rode from Hereford to Omaha Beach. That is a fucking exceptional place. It's such an exceptional place. And it talking about it, reading about it really doesn't do it any justice. And I'd never quite comprehended just how complex of an assault that was until I stood on Omaha Beach and looked back at the land. I was like, okay, everywhere's overlooked by cliffs essentially, or rolling hills at least. And when I thought, and I don't know why, but in my mind's eye, I thought, oh, well, the positions would be, reinforced bunker positions, sandbag positions type, MG42s, blah, blah. No, dude, concrete built into years in advance, like a whole engineering thing had happened to set that up defensively. Yeah. And then when you go up to the museum and you walk through, and the museum's just a little bit up the way, and you walk through and start to understand the level of loss so early on, it's a fucking frightening place.
I want to do a Normandy jump.
Dude, you should.
I want to do a Normandy jump.
I've missed out on two. One, I was in the UK, I couldn't go. And when I was here, there was just no way I could go. And I would love to. But I just don't know I could afford the broken ankle at this point. And the bar bill.
To bring it back to your story, and there's something just while we're talking and just hanging out for a little bit, is when I get back to 21 years in the SAS, when the ride's over, my guess is it's over one or two ways. It's 21 years, and now it's all you know. Like this is who you are. It's all you know, but it doesn't last forever. Or is it 21 years? I've done this for a long time, and I'm tired, and I'm ready to go. Or I guess there's always a little bit of both. Yeah,
it definitely was a little bit of both. I don't think you can do anything for that long and not become institutionalized to some degree.
Right.
But I think the path I took in the latter part of my career, I did a lot of the kind of CDC type stuff.
Okay.
The combat development stuff.
Right.
So looked into the procurement of new things.
Right.
And I did land mobility platforms and vehicles. So I worked a lot with the defense world, commercial world. And so I sort of had an understanding of what it looks beyond.
Okay.
also, a buddy of mine had got out. So he did selection when he'd already been in the army for about 12 years. So he could only do about 10 and then he was done. And I remember when he left, and he left midway through my career with the regiment. And he said, you know what, the thing that struck me when I left was there was no fanfare, there was no parade, and he said, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting what I got. And what he got was a handshake from the policeman that took his pass away at the gate, and then he left. And he was like, and I just fucking stood there waiting for a taxi to pick me up. Like, what the fuck? And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, I can see how that happens. It's not because the regiment doesn't give a shit about you, but it's because they're so fucking busy with everything else that's going on. They haven't got time to care about poor you as you leave, right? So you just got to leave and figure it out on your own. And so I somewhat prepared myself for that day coming. But when I left, I ended up working with a defense company. So I still worked to the unit to some degree. So my leaving wasn't an instant severance and there was no more. So I still sort of kept some tenuous links back to the unit, but also I didn't want to be that guy. And I'm sure you're aware of what I'm seeing. Like the guys that leave but don't actually fucking leave.
Yep.
Like every time you go back to the compound, they're there. You're like, dude, I thought you left. Oh, I did, but now I'm here doing this. Like, really? And I didn't want to be that guy. Like, oh fucking hell, he's here, so telling all the young guys how shit it is and ruining their dreams.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be that guy either. So I sort of kept not a healthy distance. That sounds like I didn't want to be part of the unit. I do, and of course I do. And for as long as they'll allow me, I'll keep going back. You know, when I'm invited to. But I'm a civilian now. I'm not. I don't just get to walk into camp anymore. I have to know someone who's going to escort me and do all the things. And I get that and appreciate it. And it's a privilege still to be able to go back. And it's definitely something that you miss. But I don't know that anything can fully prepare you for the day that you step away from it all.
Right.
Because you go from, you know, being someone who's part of this organization that gets to do amazing things across the globe to waiting for a taxi. And it's just the fall from grace is exponential. Right. And I think if you aren't anticipating it to some degree, it comes as more of a shock. And I think for some guys as they leave, the mental health crisis begins at that point. Yeah. Because they don't know what else to do. You're like, fuck, I was a pipe hitter yesterday, and now I'm playing fucking golf.
I was important yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the truth. You were important yesterday. And
it's not that you aren't important anymore, but in the structure of the unit that you spend so much time in, strategically you aren't. And
regardless of the job you do, even when you're a little bit older, let's say you do a CDD job, or with your work's important, and it's important to your country. Like my country needs me. Like what I do is important to my country. There's tangible results to my work that at a high level that's important. And the moment you're waiting for that taxi, you realize to some degree it's not wrong. I'm not important to my country anymore. And no one's going to say thank you for what you did, because no one knows what you did. If they knew what you did, they'd probably thank you for what you did. Yeah. But no one even knows what you did. And it's a tough moment. It really is. It's almost hard to explain. I try to explain it the best I can, but unless you've lived it, that, like you said, that fall is real. Yeah. It hits you hard. How did you deal with it? A pizza and 2 pints of Guinness?
Yeah, pretty much every day since. Wishing I could be back, and I'll do it all again. I'm so sorry, I'll come back. I don't know. I kept links with a lot of the guys, and we'd meet up when we can, notwithstanding work, and some of them were still in doing their thing. But I knew from about 2015 that I was going to move here. And New Smyrna Beach was the place for me. So that was always a plan that I knew. I didn't quite know when I was going to leave. Okay. And I was actually due to leave in, I think, 2020, and then COVID hit. And the British government basically turned around and said, we can't make you leave the military because the job market is what it is. You can't get a job. Right. So we will find something for you to do for the next however long until this whole thing pans out. So I ended up signing an extension for a couple of years. And then I just got to the, and I'd always said one of two things was going to happen. I was either going to leave when I ran out of time, or I would leave when I didn't love it enough to give it everything that I was. And I those two timelines somewhat converged. And I thought to myself, I could stay, but if I stay, then I've got another 5-year commitment. And that 5-year commitment would take me well into my late 40s. And really, at my late 40s, do I want to be starting something again? Yeah. Probably not. So it's kind of now or never. Yeah. So I made the decision to leave, and within 6 months, we were in New Smyrna Beach. And what I realized, and part of my reason for going to the US is I'd always bounce backwards and forwards to the US, particularly as I was in that sort of CDD role. It's just how well received that military veterans, never mind soft veterans, were received in the defense and commercial world. They saw genuine value. Right. And I thought, you know what? The UK is not there yet. And I don't know if they'll ever be there. I mean, they're not. It's not that they don't care for the veterans or they don't, but the opportunities for veteran employment isn't what it is here. Right. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give it a punt and see what happens. And you know, as you said earlier, fortune favors the brave. I don't know if it was brave or reckless, but you know, I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. So we came over here and set up shop and started again. And so now I just do different things now. I do things that I work because I like it, and I do things that I enjoy versus things that I don't. And there's a downside to being a consultant, but there's an upside to it as well. I get to pick and choose what I want to do. But opportunity is my point.
Did you ever stop and think that there's something about you and that a wake of a destruction surrounds you? Because when you got into the SAS, mad cow disease was running rampant. And then when you left, COVID had hit. Yeah. And so what is it about you coming or going that causes this widespread havoc?
I went to Thailand once and it was a tsunami, so I don't know if you might be onto something. I might be a fucking jinx.
This isn't a leading question by any means. What you've obviously you came over here to the States, like you know what you're getting into. But then again, it's a little bit different when you're out in Southern Pines or you're in this bubble of specialized people, and then you're in the real world of America. What do you think about living in Florida?
Dude, I love living in Florida. It's my favorite thing.
It's because you see sun every day.
Yeah. Yes. It's because there isn't mist that hangs at house level over for 90% of the time. No, I love Florida. The weather's great. I mean, I grew up in South Africa, so the weather was. I'm used to beachside weather. Right. And when my kids were smaller, my wife used to work for British Airways, so we used to fly a lot. Yeah. And when the kids were born, I was like, "Listen, we're not going to stop traveling. Let's travel with them." And she was like, "Yes, 100%." So because we're in England, we typically go to places that are warm and nice. Right. And if I have sand between my toes and a Corona in my hand, I'm golden. Okay. And I was like, well, if we could, and so we went to Cuba on holiday. Okay. And my wife turned 40 and my daughter turned 1 within that 3-week time frame. And as I sat and watched the kids, I was like, they just blossom in this weather. Like, why couldn't we do this full time? Yeah. And whilst New Smyrna was in the back of my mind, as in that's where we want to live, we hadn't actually kicked it into a plan yet. Okay. So as my service started to wrap up, that became the focus to live here. So the weather was a driver and opportunity was a driver. When we got over here, I just said, look, we've got to take every opportunity that's afforded to us. And because as cliched as living the American dream is, if you're prepared to get stuck in and work your balls off, you can earn a decent living and you can live in a nice home in a nice neighborhood and do cool things. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a bash. I think I can do some things over here. And I'm always looking for opportunity. And I don't say that in that I'm not happy with what I've got, but you never know when what you've got could go. So I've always got a few irons in the fire, as it were. So I try and keep myself occupied doing things that I enjoy, and hopefully people pay me for it.
If that is the kicker, hopefully people pay you for it. I'm really bad about staying really busy. but some things people don't pay me for.
Yeah.
But some of those things I do are absolutely worth it. But that is, besides jokingly, I think some veterans, especially very high end specialized veterans, I don't think they always know their worth. Like your skill set is worth something here, and if you maintain that, you will find it.
Yeah, you will. But then also, notwithstanding that, humility is a big part of both of our units. So the guys can be quite self-deprecating.
Yeah,
so will quite often undersell yourself.
Yes,
when there are people out there that won't undersell themselves at all.
What else are you a part of? Or what else are you doing?
So, when you spoke about how did I sort of figure out this whole leaving a team thing, one of the things, a guy I met, funny enough, on one of the deployments, a US guy, former agency cat, he got involved with an organization here in Florida. They're actually out of South Carolina, but they predominantly operate here. An organization called Force Blue. And in a nutshell, they take soft community folks who have a diving background, whether in military diving or otherwise, and repurpose their skill set in support of marine research and conservation. And they're super active. They have missions all throughout the year. In fact, I was supposed to be on one last week, but this week, yeah, and it got pushed. But one of the cool things about being in Force Blue is that feeling of not being part of a team anymore, waiting for that taxi. Well, now all of a sudden you're back as part of this team that has a focus, a mission set, if you like.
Right.
And it's just a cool organization to be a part of, and I look forward to the missions as they come up, to jump on them and catch up with the guys and see what they're up to. And it's a whole plethora of different backgrounds, so there's always some good banter going on and some ribbing and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's a good time, and notwithstanding that the missions that we get involved with are truly meaningful. So when you talk about service to one country or another, there is genuine service being given back in the preservation of marine life around Florida, and elsewhere in the U.S. to be fair.
Yeah, I love that. I say it all the time. We just talked about the fall, the reality of leaving the service and feeling like you're a part of something important and no longer. I think it's a big part of that is, well, then go find a purpose.
Yeah,
you have to have a purpose in life, and that purpose can't be just making money. Making money will not make you happy. You can land the biggest job. You can do it. You
can be rich and miserable.
You can be rich and miserable. Like most people who are rich are miserable. Find a purpose.
Yeah.
Last thing that I want to do with you is I'm going to give you a list of words, and I want you to tell me what they mean.
Okay.
Blues and twos.
Is uniform. Your dress uniform.
So your dress uniform.
Blues and twos, yeah.
A bell end.
Bell end's one of my favorite words.
It's one of your favorite words.
So
okay.
a bell end is the bulbous bit at the end of a penis is a bell end. And if someone is a bell end dickhead, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one I definitely got from you guys, but I don't know if it's as widespread as I thought it was. And I may not be saying it right. A ginganguli.
A ginganguli. Yeah. A ginganguli is if something turns into a ginganguli, it's a bit of a shitstorm. It's like just fucking whatever. Or if people are supposed to be doing something and you walk in and you're like, fucking hell, fellas, this has turned into a ginganguli. What's going on? Like you're supposed to be doing something, but you're fucking off, right?
Right.
A ginganguli.
A badge bunny.
A badge bunny?
A badge bunny. Is that one?
Not sure.
You were talking about what is it that you get when at the very end of selection?
When you get badged.
You get badged.
Oh, a badge bunny. Oh, yeah.
Badge bunny. I know. I have an accent.
Yeah. No. Okay. I see. No, I see what you go. What did we call them? We didn't used to call them.
Did you call them? Is there a different term?
No, we called them blade runners. Because our operators were known as blades because of the winged dagger, right?
Oh, okay.
So the nickname was
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we called them blade runners.
This is one that, for the most, either they're weird like ginganguli. I don't know how that can be
I don't even know
described, but but you usually when you hear the description of it, it makes sense. Like bellend. Actually, when you hear why it's called that, it's funny.
Anatomically, it makes sense.
This one is one of those that culturally does not translate well, and it's geezer.
Geezer, yeah.
Because a geezer in the States is very different than the geezer. So what's a geezer to you guys?
So, some historical context, right?
Okay.
In sort of London town in ye oldie days, right?
All right.
If you were a bit of a man about town,
Okay.
you knew people, you could get things. You're a mover and a shaker. You were known as a geezer.
Okay.
And I know in the US that means an older gent, right?
Right. It's usually not a good thing. It's usually started with old. You old geezer.
Yeah,
it's usually
a
bad
geezer is
thing.
not a bad thing. It normally means someone with a little bit of something about them. But in the unit, if you refer to the rest of the guys,
right,
you either call them the blokes or the geezers. Okay. like I'll ring one of the guys I work with at SIG. He's also a former unit guy, and I'll say I saw him a couple of weeks ago, last week. And I said, when was the last time you saw the geezers? And he knows that's what I mean. Like, when was the last time you sat down and had a cup of coffee or a beer with some of the blokes, back in Hereford? So geezers is what we refer to one another as, like you would mates.
Exactly.
Geezers, yeah.
All right, last one. I need you to read this word for me.
You've misspelled it, first of all. But the word you're looking for is aluminium.
I don't need the extra bit. Just if you know what I'm looking for, just give me the answer.
I can't bring myself to say it. I just can't.
Tell me how you pronounce what I was trying to spell.
Aluminum.
Then how do you
aluminium.
say it? Aluminium.
Aluminium. Yeah.
Okay.
So the English spelling is actually correct because we invented the language in the first instance. So the IUM, minium, same as titanium,
right,
or condominium,
right. I know it is funny. Would we give our SCS counterparts a hard time? But whatever it is, they pronounce them or say something. And
my favorite is Worcestershire sauce. Because Worcester is about 30. The city of Worcester is about 32 miles north of Hereford.
Okay.
In what you guys would call a county of, of Worcestershire.
Okay.
And Hereford is in Herefordshire. It's a shire.
Right.
Herefordshire, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, but for some reason, particularly in the South, in South US, the Worcestershire is the most complex word to say.
It is.
But when you go up north, like New Hampshire, where SIG is, people just say Worcestershire and Worcester.
Right.
For some reason, it's impossible.
Yeah, we always call it Worcestershire sauce.
What's your sister's sauce?
Yeah, I know.
Worcestershire sauce.
That is one of the hardest words to pronounce in the English language. The way that we pronounce it,
dude. One of the funniest fucking road trips I've ever had. That road trip from London Heathrow to Hereford.
Okay.
2.5. You've done it yourself. But there's a bunch of road signs, obviously, between the two. So I picked up a friend of mine. He's from Louisiana.
Okay.
So you know the accent, right? So
right.
I picked him up, and all the way back, I was getting him to read words, their places' names.
Right.
Mate, it was hilarious. Just the shit he was coming out with.
Right.
So nothing like it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I'd imagine at some point. I guess for us to you guys, like someone with a deep accent, like a deep Irish accent.
Yeah.
That's like I can understand them, but if it gets too deep, we're speaking the can't language, and I can almost can't understand what you're saying.
Or drunk, that gets out of control.
Yeah, or drunk. I'd imagine same thing for you guys. You get someone from like deep Louisiana or a real deep accent. You're like, we speak the same language, but I don't understand half
your
the
lips
things
are
you're
moving,
saying.
but I don't know what to do.
You can blame that on the French.
Yeah, I can blame that on the French.
Yeah.
Sorry, my last real question for you is, and after 25 years of service in the UK military, and I already said that the guys we worked with were funny, but no pressure. I'm telling you, the British guys, you guys are just extra funny. Like as a whole, you guys just crack me up. It's just the way you speak to each other, the way you view things, all the way to the words you use. You're just funny guys.
If sarcasm wasn't a thing, I don't know that we'd even speak at all.
Right.
Right.
Correct. So tell me a funny story. I know it's such a broad. It's almost so broad. It's a hard question, but usually what are the first thing that comes to mind is it, but and then it can be a selection story. It can be an overseas story. It could be making fun of the Delta Force that lived next door to you story. We'll take them all.
There's so many to choose from.
I know.
I need to pick one that's worth telling.
And we always put people on the spot for
yeah,
it.
right. So
I know what we're doing. It's never easy.
So here's one.
All right.
So I said about sarcasm, right?
Okay.
So we were on. Remember, I said on selection we had the two halves of the jumps course: the rounds, which everybody did, and then the squares, which if you had done the rounds, you went and did. Anyway, so I don't know, we're 3 or 4 jumps into the squares course, and for some reason, the Royal Air Force, in their infinite wisdom, had landed an ambulance right on the wind line at the end of the X, right? So the pit's in the middle.
Right.
That's what everyone's aiming for.
Right.
That. And so one of the guys who actually went to air troop, funny enough, he is on finals, full drive, and plows straight into the ambulance.
Right.
So one of the other guys walks up to him, doesn't ask him if he's all right. He just leans over and he goes, "You do realize that's a steerable canopy?" The guy's all mangled up against the end of. Do you realize it's a steerable canopy? And left it there.
I guess the other good news is you don't have to go far.
Yeah,
but you're right there. It's the ambulance. So if you are hurt, you're right there.
So I was in mobility troop, and so we would always have a lot of banter with our air troop guys, and we always used to ride each other hard about whose troop skill was the hardest.
Okay.
Boat troop, mountain troop, mobility, or air.
Yeah.
And so we always used to say to air troop, yeah, this is a fucking skill, right? Yeah, that's a skill. Dude, I used to get so upset. They're like, yeah, because that's a fucking skill, driving.
Absolutely. Dunk, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. And
share some stories with us. I really, really enjoy it. I know you got a rock concert to get to tonight.
Me and my boy are going to go rock out to the Offspring and Foo Fighters.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm telling you, one of these days you got to come back for a Thursday night live show, and we can interact with the audience.
Yeah.
Until then,
cool.
I got a feeling this isn't the last time I'm going to see you.
I hope not.
Thanks so much, brother.
Thanks, brother, mate.